All right, in this PowerPoint, we are going over how each branch is involved in the lawmaking process. Now, of course, there are more than the branches, or I'm sorry, there are more things that the branches can do than just make laws, but for the sake of this PowerPoint, we're just talking about their powers in the lawmaking process. So we're going to start with the legislative branch. This branch is led by the president. There are more people in this branch, but we're not going to talk about them right now, just president. The first way that the president can get involved in the lawmaking process is by suggesting laws to Congress. So the president can address Congress and say, hey, I want a law passed about, I don't know, the environment or education, or maybe something that they promised the people on their campaign trail, right? So they're going to address Congress and say, hey, I want a law passed about blah, blah, blah. And then Congress is going to write some laws, right? Maybe based off the president's suggestions, maybe not. But either way, it's good for them to know where the president stands so they can anticipate whether the president will sign or veto the laws that they write. And once they have it all written and approved, they're going to send it to the president, where the president can approve it, which would make it an official law, or can veto it, which means that it gets sent back to Congress. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about that here in our next slide. All right, so here we are with the legislative branch. This is Congress. Legislative branch is Congress, and this is the group of people who actually write the laws. Just a refresher, I know that you probably covered this earlier in this unit, but there are two houses in Congress. That means two groups of lawmakers that laws have to get passed through. You have the Senate and the House of Representatives. In order for a bill to be passed, it has to go through both houses. So when the Congress is writing a law, they try to take in the suggestions or the opinions of the president, citizens, who they represent, this is you, me, everybody in the country, and interest groups. And if you don't know what an interest group is yet, that's okay. Just kind of keep it in the back of your mind. We're going to talk about it more in Unit 4. Okay. So let's say that the bill gets passed through both houses, through the Senate and the House of Representatives, and it goes to the president. Like I said in the last slide, the president can either veto or approve a bill. If it gets vetoed, it gets sent back to Congress, and they have two options for what they can do. They can either revise the bill, which means they're going to make some changes, maybe make some changes that the president might like more, next time, so then the president can sign it based off the changes that they made. Or they can override the president's veto. So if they think the bill is perfect the way that they wrote it and they don't want to, change it at all, if 2/3 of Congress can agree that yes, this bill is perfect and does not need any changes, it can be a bill anyways, regardless of the president's veto or not. It's just super difficult to do that. I mean, think about it. It's super difficult to get 2/3 of people, which is a large fraction, to agree on anything. And it's the same way with Congress. Very hard. But let's move on to the judicial branch. The judicial branch is led by the Supreme Court. This is the highest court in the judicial branch. And it's their job to make sure that laws that are passed align with the Constitution. So they kind of put the laws on trial, if you will. And if there's any law that doesn't line up with anything or something in the Constitution, they can strike that law down. And that's what we call judicial review. Keep in mind, though, not every bill or law has to go to the Supreme Court. This is not necessary, right? Laws only go to the Supreme Court if somebody sues and if the court agrees to hear the case. They don't hear every case that gets sent to them, right? They get to pick. It's kind of one of their special perks, right? So maybe somebody might sue if a law that's passed violates their rights. Maybe they're losing money over this law, or they're personally harmed by it. So they might sue. The Supreme Court might pick up the case and look at a law and say, oh yeah, no, this is a violation of the Constitution. This law is not okay, and they could strike it down. I'm going to give you a quick little make-believe example. This probably would never happen, but let's pretend that Congress passes a bill that says women cannot vote. Okay, great. And the president approves the bill, says women can't vote, right? So it gets past two branches, and then a woman looks at this bill and she's like, no, this is crazy, and she sues, and it makes its way up to this judicial branch, to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court would look at the Constitution, notice the 19th Amendment that says, hey, women can vote, and they would see, hey, that violates this law. or this law violates that amendment in the Constitution. They would strike down the law because it violates a part of the Constitution. So let's talk about which branch you think has the most power, or has the most power. Is it the president because the president gets power to suggest laws and can veto laws? Or is it Congress because they're the ones who actually write the bills, right? Who actually write the laws? Or is it the Supreme Court because they have the power to strike down laws and nobody can override them, right? I want you to pause this video and make sure that you answer this question on your notes. And I also want to remind you, after you're done filling out these notes, you have an activity in Canvas, the sequencing activity, where you're going to have to put these steps that I just talked about in order. Once you do that, you need to come show me, or whoever your teacher is, that you completed this section so you can get credit for it. You have to show your results to your teacher. You will not receive credit unless you show us your results. I'm just going to reiterate this. Show your results to your teacher. Okay, you won't get credit unless you do. All right. Happy sequencing.